Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Chewy and Company. I am Chewy, and on this podcast, I invite all my dear friends, and they happen to be immigrants like me or first generation of Americans. We want to just go chat with you about our daily lives and have a candid conversation and go from there. And hopefully, this is a platform for you to get know us better and for us to, hear your thoughts. So today, on the very first episode, it's my friend Peter.
Hello.
From Russia originally, right?
Yep.
Born, raised there, but moved here at a very young age. I'll let Peter tell you all the story. But we both recently purchased a home in the Charlotte area. So I think that would be a good first topic for us, right?
Sounds good, yeah.
Oh, I forgot to introduce myself a little bit, right? I should. So my name is Chewy. I came to this country when I was 18, 18 years ago. So there goes my age. And yeah, I went to college first and then worked in financial advisory and then telco. Here I am in Charlotte. And I want to hear Peter's story. It's more interesting than mine.
Is it though? It's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
So as Chewy mentioned, I was born in Russia. Then parents immigrated over to the US. We lived in one state, lived in a different state, moved over to Germany for a while as well. Lived in Russia some more. And then finally in the early 2000s came back here, and I've been here ever since.
Tell everyone what you do.
So I am.
Yes. I thought that was very funny, actually, him and what he does.
So I am in cybersecurity on the defensive side. So I investigate incidents, especially when other governmental agencies try to breach networks.
Yeah, you worked for the U.S. government for many years, starting your career, right?
Yeah, that was my first big boy job, was working for the U.S. government doing cybersecurity work for them.
And now is...
And now, yeah, well, now I work for a major Fortune 500 company.
Well, why can we say that?
I don't know.
Well. Okay. So we recently both purchased a home. I did in the suburb in Honorsville, Peter Steel Creek, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I've been looking for a long time. I think it is really difficult for, we're both single. So for us to like get a home that is really comfortable, have space. We both work from home, so have space for work and for entertainment. And I have a little French bulldog, and so I would love to have a private backyard. It hasn't been easy
finding something. Yeah, especially in the Charlotte area. Like either you find a new construction, and that is just new construction,
very compact,
and it's like you can touch
townhouses.
It's as my realtor described, townhouses without being connected.
But yeah, it's very difficult. But I want to kind of go back a little bit. I know for me, owning a home or having your own house is a big part of my culture. It's a symbol of, you've grown, you've made it on your own, like you finally have that little bit of separation because, Asian cultures are very family orientated. But I think most of the times, at least people I know still back home, they would do this with their loved ones when they get married and, they have their family support and all that. So I think for me, for quite a while, even though I don't have anybody like that in my life yet, but, purchasing a home symbolized I am having my own home. So I think also as an immigrant in another country, it's almost extra meaningful for me. It provided that that sense of safety, security. I don't think anything else could really give me. I don't know in the Russian culture if, owning your own home is very different than living, with someone else, or similar, different.
from my limited experience in Russian culture, living in Russia.
Well, your parents were born, raised
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So over there, like you don't actually like single family homes aren't really a thing in
Oh,
Russia. Well, if you're in like in the suburbs and like in modern day
okay.
Russia, that's probably more of a thing. But it's more of a like condos or long-term lease apartments where like you are living in an apartment that is kind of owned by the city, and but it's not like they can come in and evict you. More like something like in New York City where you have those like rent controlled, 90-year leases or whatever. But again, like
It's the same thing in
yeah,
China. Like the government still owns all the land and the property. So you kind of like you bought a place, but the government owns the rights. Like it's still you're leasing from the government. I think in China it was 90 years something also, like slightly less than 100 for some reason.
yeah. So like my dad still has an apartment there. My mom's family, they live in an apartment. It's definitely, yeah, it's very communal. So like multiple generations potentially could live in the same apartment. Granted, it's not as a big of a thing nowadays than it was, let's say, my parents' generation growing up, where it was like potentially you had grandparents, parents, and their kids living in the same two-bedroom apartment potentially.
But do you think like when your parents got here, like they purchased their houses, right, in different states
Yep.
when they were working, was that more so like they want to have the sense of home with you? Because I know you and your brother,
Yep.
so four of you guys. Was that like a dream come true, or that was just like, oh, this is what Americans do?
Uh, Probably both. It definitely was nicer to have a house than to live in an apartment. Plus, you had your
Sure.
own space that,
And children, young
yeah,
children,
yeah, you
right?
could
Yeah, at the
customize
time.
it to wherever you had a backyard. Like we played in the backyard and stuff. So it was like the American dream, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So now with me buying a house, I think it's also kind of like I want to have my own place instead of you know renting and paying somebody else. Where it's like, yeah, there's pros and cons to both. But now I can remodel my bathroom to however I want,
I
install, run Ethernet
this is yeah,
for the techie.
I think this is the interesting part, maybe also because we're you're talking female and a male. Like for the male, I think it's more from the financial, economical standpoint. Like I'm not paying rent.
Yep.
Like I am going to have the freedom of doing all the renovations. Um, but I think for me, it's more from more emotional needs. Sound like
Maybe, but again, it also depends, on your. I was never attached to a place for a while, so like I can't like moved every couple of years. Longest time I lived in one like apartment or something was like 6 years, and that was when I worked in up north prior to moving. So it was maybe that will change, right? I'll be more a little bit like
it changed
home.
for
Home is
me.
home, right?
It changed for me. I was like you, because when you're an immigrant, international students, you go where the best school you can get into, and then you go where offers you a job for you to get your
Yep.
working visa and green card and all that stuff. So for me, I moved a lot. I think first Ohio, then Syracuse, New York, and then Raleigh, then Durham, and then Charlotte. But for any reasons, it's always easy to pack up and go.
Yep.
Um, but I have to say, for some reason, something clicked in me last couple years. I have become like a lot more longing to settle down, to have a place I no longer need to pack up and go and leave and, like that. I want that sense of groundingness, I
Hmm.
think. Um, so it
Yeah,
may change for you too.
yeah, because like once you know that you're probably staying here for, you don't have like, I wouldn't say an option. You have to stay here, right? Otherwise, it's like
So praise it.
no, it's definitely. I think it a little potentially more. You end up doing more stuff. But speaking of moving, it was always I wasn't made fun. My brother like poked at me. Was like, I have all my boxes from all my stuff that are like major stuff that I bought still sitting in a closet because I always knew like I'm gonna be moving, so might as well keep the boxes so that I can pack everything neatly and ship it all
go.
off. Now,
Yeah, anytime.
even though I'm gonna have a garage, I think I'm gonna start throwing stuff out because like I don't need boxes for my speakers anymore, for example, or something like that. Now I'll keep my TV box.
But it's gonna be funny because once you throw away all the boxes, you need to move again. Like for some
Oh
reason.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
always happens like
Hmm.
that in life. So we met before we purchased the home and we had multiple conversations because we were both at the stage thinking about getting one. You know, there were a lot of back and forth. Like, do I like Charlotte? Is this somewhere right now it's such a heated market? Like, is it worth it to invest here? Like, oh my gosh, is this investment gonna like, pay off a few years down the road? And also, I think for us, we talked about this. It's really, really difficult to do this on your own. I think it's a little bit easier for Peter. He's doing really well for himself career wise. But I think for me, I think I qualify more like the average American middle class income level. You are above that.
Um,
Yes,
upper
it's the
middle
truth.
class potentially.
So I think it's really difficult. Like when I was even thinking about it and trying to do it on my own. Very fortunately, I have some family help financially, but I think it's a very scary decision to make. Um, and it took a while, but I still feel like it's worth it for more so my mental
Hmm.
stability. What made you made the final decision thinking like, okay, this is
So I've been looking to potentially buy a house probably for close to 2 years.
right
And it's always
longer?
been like a on and off, like, oh, I'm in no rush. Oh, the interest rates are going up. Oh, well, I'll probably wait for another couple
Yeah.
months and see. Or like, and then it just, this house, for example, I was just like, oh, open house. I'll go take a look at it. And it's like, oh, I like it. Let's put an offer. I know it's probably not going to get accepted. And then the next day, my realtor calls, yeah, it got accepted. I'm like, oh shit. Like it didn't hit me for like a good couple hours, or probably even the next day, really. It was like, oh,
This is real.
there goes all my money that I've saved up for the past 10 years.
Oh yeah, he is also a saver and
Right.
I'm not. But I think you say like you were just casually
Yeah.
looking, but it plays into I think everyone else not necessarily have to be an immigrant or just you born and raised in America, you feel the same way. It's such a big decision, and it's
Exactly.
also a lot of pressure financially all of a sudden. Um, and I think we're all in it to have that same feeling. But I also want to say like sometimes it's a little bit of luck. So if you are out there and also looking for a home, a forever home, or semi forever home, just know a ton of that has something to do with luck,
It's
timing.
random,
It's
right?
really, really, yeah.
Like there was a house that I think we ended up trying to go look at up north, and
At
we get there, and it's like,
at Huntersville,
yeah,
right?
we get
Yeah.
there, and it's like open house, and they're like, yeah, no, we ended up the open house. We got a
Off.
great offer.
Yeah.
I,
It's over.
yeah, I looked at how much the house sold for. It was 5,000 over listing price.
We could have totally outbid that.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess it all like, I guess the offer was a little bit more competitive, even if it wasn't a lot of money. They were like, hey, we can
Maybe
close
it's
tomorrow.
cash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
you
that.
never know. But I think that comes down to like, just if you're looking, don't give up and don't get too attached to any of the houses you
Yeah,
see. There will be one and potentially even better than you ever imagined in some ways, maybe not in all ways. Yeah, so I think that's something we can share with everyone. Like,
yeah.
it's a process.
Now the process is, oh, I have something now. I want to change that. I want to change that. And it's
Yes,
like, no,
so many things you want to
stop. I need to
do.
just stop thinking about it and wait until I'm living in the house for a couple months.
But I think we can also share, like, because of the inventory so low and the market is really heated right
Yeah.
now, your mortgage process, in my personal opinion, and from listening to other people, kind of are easier than it used to. Like, because the mortgage company really trying to get the business,
Hmm.
they're offering you the best rates they can. They're competing with multiple companies there. So definitely shop around.
Yep.
Um,
And don't forget to ask your local credit union
oh,
because they
yeah.
saved my bacon. I asked them, they gave me the lowest rate, and then I went to a different company. They're like, yeah, we're not even gonna bother giving you a loan estimate because like we
Unbeatable.
can't even beat that interest rate that they offer.
Yeah.
And then you go to your favorite broker that you've been working for with the whole time, and they're like, yes, we'll beat it and we'll go cheaper. So
Wow. Okay, I didn't
yeah.
know that. Yeah. So that's that. But I want to kind of circle back and talk about how your family and your I know you're very close with your family. How did they feel about the news? Like, did they feel like, oh my gosh, you're settling down? They feel like this is more like you ventured into the next stage of your life, or this is very much just a financial transition? They're like,
I really don't know. Probably it's more of a financial transaction.
believe it or not, that's how my family feel too.
Yeah, it was very like congratulations. Like, of course they're happy. Like, finally, after talking about it for
2 years.
years or even longer. Really, like
Yeah.
I started. It wasn't really looking. I was like, maybe when I was moving down to Charlotte 2.5 years ago, it was
You
like,
forgot to tell everybody how
yeah,
old you are. I think that helps.
early 30s.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
he's not even like
yeah,
at the age you're like people would start questioning, oh, well, you're not having a home or something,
yeah.
right? Like, yeah.
But it's like it's that is what it is, right? But yeah, from my parents, like, yes, yay! Now we can come visit you more often. Like,
More space.
mom, if you end up watching this,
He loves his mom.
it's like every couple months is enough. Like, no,
No,
is it?
if it's Peter's, he doesn't want to admit it, but Peter loves to have his mom around. She's amazing.
And
Like,
my
she's a
dad,
great friend.
yeah.
Like she's very artistic. She cooks really well. I mean, she has great taste interior design wise. I mean, I would be best friend with her. So don't
You need
complain.
to meet her.
Don't complain. My mom, mother, and my mom wants to come, but I think all the Asian parents travel, cross the ocean to make that trip
Yeah.
here, probably want to stay for an extended period of time. My mom has a really poor health, so taking flights is taking a big toll on her. So she always come for at least like 3 months, and sometimes she will stay till the full maximum, like max allowance time, which would be like 6 months. My mom doesn't speak English, so I'm very happy to say this. It is not the easiest time for me. And my mom is very particular, have a lot of like how she wants to run the household, and she will turn my household into her household. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, but again, I think that's another piece this time because I own a home in my mid 20s, back in Durham. And I sold that home. I can really honestly say this time when I'm buying, because back then when I had that home, even though it was with my parents' help also, but I really just want to be independent. I want to be
Hmm.
free. And I was like, oh, I have my own place. My mom cannot tell me what to do anymore. She has to follow my rules. No, it's her house. She came in, she turned it into hers. All right. So we took a water break and we're back. Um, Actually, I was thinking, you know, I feel like for you, this is a lot more of a what's the best next thing to do,
Yep.
considering, investing and saving and for your future. But I think for us, a lot of Asians, I think, purchase a home because of marriage, and
Hmm.
our family often helps. It used to be, like the parents would move in with the newlyweds or something, but I don't even think people do that anymore nowadays, even back in China. Um, so there's a lot of like emotional elements into getting a home, purchasing a home, and today happened to be the Chinese New Year for 2024. It's the year of dragon. So it really stirred a lot of memories for me, and knowing, now I have a quote unquote home.
Hmm.
Um, but I think, like, does this make you at any point feel sad or feel like, oh, I'm doing this on my own, I'm not doing it with someone I love?
No, I think it's always I was kind of always planning on doing it by myself. I right? Hey,
I have never. Yeah, so I think that's a major difference between. Do you think that's a Russian culture, like, or do you think it's just because you're a dude?
what buying?
Like, you don't care, like, you really don't feel any. downside of doing this on your own?
I think I'm in a great spot in my life, and that just will make future financial decisions easier for me. Plus, it'll be nice to have my own place, like that. I
So
don't have to
easy.
share. Nobody up top, nobody below, nobody to the left, nobody to the right.
I regret I didn't study cybersecurity in college. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's hit or miss. It all depends what track. Back to that, you get a little bit of luck, right? Like, it's not.
No, you
It,
worked very
it may be
hard.
not
Peter worked
luck,
very
but
hard.
it's like
Yeah.
at the right time, at the right place.
And I think you were very focused on career for
Yeah.
majority of your 20s,
Yes,
right? Like,
absolutely.
even during college years, it was I think you have to be singular um and super focused to make something successful most of the time and a sprinkle of luck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like the way, yeah, my 20s, college years was very like school, 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 school. Then it's like work, 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 and I'm like, I don't want to do anything else, kind of thing.
Was buying a home, owning a home, like kind of something you planned it back then? Like, you always like this is the age I'm gonna owning
Not
becoming a homeowner.
age wise, but it was always like I want to like I want a house. Like me and my roommate back in college, he was even considering when we were renting a house. I was just like, it's so much nicer than living in a dorm or apartment.
True.
And he was considering buying a house, and I would just be renting from him, and it would be cheaper for both of us. I have no idea why he never like decided on it. Maybe it was also like he was still in graduate school at the time, so it wasn't like
He didn't
maybe.
like Peter that much. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
no, no. Hey, we were roommates for what, 4 years? I think maybe I don't know,
Okay,
but
he
it
was
was.
deeply in love with you.
Oh
All right.
yes,
Okay.
of course.
It's just one way or another with Chewy. It's very extreme. There is
Um,
no middle ground.
yeah, fair enough. But I think it was also like we were still relatively early on in our careers, so it
Sure.
was like, okay, buy a house now, and what happens if I get a phenomenal job somewhere,
Elsewhere.
California or some other area, and you have to move. Yeah.
That would be a good question. Like, do you think, when the right career opportunity presents, I think you will pick up and leave again very easy, right? There's
So now that I've gotten the taste of remote work and working from home, I think it will be a very big challenge to go back to be like, oh, I'm gonna have to go into an office and move to a different city.
Really. So if they
Probably.
they like your company, which we're not supposed to disclose, require you to move to like Silicon Valley or somewhere, like, but you don't have to come into the office all the time. Maybe like a hybrid. Would you go?
It would have to be. You're gonna have to think about it because it's like going into the office. That's time, more money. It all comes down to money. It's more expensive. Like I'm literally going to be doing the exact same thing that I'll be doing at home.
I think this is where it goes back to earlier Peter said he's like asocial. I think he doesn't value the social interactions for career, like for job, for working as much as
Yeah,
I miss working with people in an office. I'm not saying I don't enjoy working remotely. I really do. But talking to your dog gets old after a while. Just saying.
yeah, and not having a dog and talking to yourself gets kind of weird sometimes. But then it's when you call
Yeah.
your coworker and he's like, also like, I have nothing. I haven't talked to anybody in a couple days.
I thought
And it's
that's when
like,
you texted me, but okay.
yeah,
All right.
but that's more. You end up talking work and you end up ranting about the same exact thing.
Again and again. Okay.
So it's I
I
don't know. It all depends, right? If it's some Silicon Valley company who's going to give me, oh, you want to be a hybrid, you're going to have $1 million salary, then you're like,
no brainer.
yeah, no brainer. But if
It's
it's like,
all about money.
it always comes down to
Yeah.
it's
I have to agree. I think that's, a lot of people would say like money doesn't really matter, and I don't know. For me, I think maybe because I am an immigrant, I don't really have family here. I don't have someone like I feel I can, run back home to, or actually even know what I do and how I do things. My parents don't even speak English. Um, so having the financial stability, it really brings you that sense of like you're gonna be okay. Like
Yeah.
you have the resources to rescue yourself in like different type of.
It's one less thing that you worry about, right? Like when you don't have to think about, oh my god, am I how am I going to pay rent, right? This year, or the mortgage versus, okay, I need to eat, right? You got your essentials, where it's like,
You
yeah,
now you're like too far. Like you're way
it is,
no
no,
longer there. Like
no,
so long ago. But
but
Peter is a very frugal
I am.
person. Like yeah,
I have no idea
very
why.
smart with his money. Let's put it that way. And I am the opposite. So, but I think that comes also from the security standpoint, right? Like I'm only child. I'm the only child. Well, child policy generation in China when I was growing up. So my parents could only have me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double-edged sword. So, obviously you get all the love, attention, resources focused on you, but you also kind of carry all the stress and all the dreams and goals,
Of the parents.
yeah, of the parents. So I think I felt oftentimes like I know you're like I got a plan for the future and I want to make sure the future is great. And I do that too. Like I wouldn't say I'm irresponsible, but I think my priority is kind of like what about
No.
now, because I don't have anyone to. You grow up with everyone has everything given to you. Everybody is always wanted to make sure
Mm-hmm.
you are, yes, they, the Chinese Asian parents, like their generation at least, they will beat you, they will discipline you, they're harsh verbally, but they do give you everything, they were always there for you. And now I don't have that. I haven't had that since I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I do things to make myself feel loved. And I know my parents, they, Asian parents do not tell you, you're great. I'm proud of
Mm-hmm.
you. My dad said that to me the first time in my life when I was 35. So, like, just a year and a half ago, I think. Um, Maybe 34. But it was insane. Like, when I heard it, I was questioning my hearing. And that's how rare it is. Um, so I think, but they give me the love. They show their love through like gifts, through trips,
Yep.
through, like New Year comes and this is a red pocket with, some money and this is some like jewelry, like things like that. Um, so I think that may be why, like for me, having stuff like trading myself is the way of self love, I guess.
Maybe I have noticed that over the past like couple years, really, it's I've slowly started to do. It wasn't like, oh, I should probably buy that because that will make me feel better, kind of thing. Now it's like, oh, I should, this will make my life simpler, or like, this will be fun to go drink, like go drinking, right? Like go out to have fun on like a Saturday versus, oh, I'm just gonna sit at home and watch TV, kind of thing.
Or have people to professionals to come and do home renovation tasks for you.
It,
We were just speaking of this. Peter has the surgery coming up,
yep.
so but it's all shortly after he closes on his house, and there are a few minor things he wants to do. And Peter was like, "I have only a day and a half to finish all this." I said, "Why?" He's like, "Because I'm gonna have surgery and I couldn't do it." I'm like, "That's when you hire people." And he was like, "No, those are such a simple things. It's like 5 minutes to change a faucet." Any man tells you it's 5 minutes to do something, it never is 5 minutes.
Yep.
Men, please just acknowledge that. And it's so funny, but everybody says that. But isn't that like a maturity thing? Do you feel like, obviously very fortunate at a position you are able to afford that now. But at the same time, it is really like a mindset switch, right?
I
Yeah.
think it doing it myself. There's an additional sense of like accomplishment, and you're like, oh, this was cool trying to figure out how to change light switches, right? It's like it's not a big thing, but like again, you're doing it outside of work
I
hours.
never thought of that. Like actually, so that there was this element of I accomplished something
Yeah,
I didn't know how to do it before.
there's that
I
moment
figure
of
out through YouTube
exactly,
videos.
yeah, there's that moment of like this like high that you get when you're like you finished switching out all the light switches in a room, and you're like, damn, that looks nice now. And then every time you walk by, it's like,
I did that.
I did that. So
So what if it's actually a really botched job? Like when your guests come by and be like, this one is a little crooked. Like,
well,
would you feel destroyed or would you argue?
The problem there is I have a little bit of like a perfectionist in me kind of thing for some stuff. So if it's like, there will be a time where I'm like, I can't, like, redoing a bathroom, I'm paying somebody to do that. Because that is like, from all the various stories that I've seen and friends who've done that stuff, that's like, I will spend 6 months redoing a shower when, you know, you could have paid somebody couple $1,000 to do this thing for you, and they do it on a consistent basis. Like, you don't have to learn anything, but like tiny things.
This is not the question. The question is, if someone come criticize your job, you thought it was perfect, would you be mad?
Can you do it better?
See, yeah,
can you do it better?
It's very cute.
So, I don't know,
but well, I think that's this is a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
This is our first episode, and I think we touched on a little bit of everything, every aspect we experienced with purchasing homes. All right, then.
Yeah.
I think it's a wrap here, and thank you all very much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.